Comparing the futures of the Chiefs and Chargers is hard for many reasons. But the one obvious thing they both share is that their futures are extremely bright as long as they can stay healthy, just like everybody. But if I had to choose a team to buy over the next 5 years, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Now, on the surface, most people would say the Chiefs is an easy pick because of Patrick Mahomes. And look, he's a witch. We already know that. And they already do have experience winning the whole thing. But the Chargers look like they have a chance to have a more complete team and roster. Now, I know the Chiefs defense only gave up some garbage time touchdowns last week, but the Cardinals were basically weaponless without DeAndre Hopkins, who suspended the first 6 games, Rondale Moore, who got hurt last week, and really in general. Now, that isn't to say that the Chiefs defense will be poor or bad, but the Chargers have a defense that can take over at any time. The Raiders are no joke offensively, and they recently added arguably the best wide receiver on the planet in Davante Adams. Yet the Chargers had 6 sacks, picked off Derek Carr 3 times, and held the Raiders to a measly 19 points. Now, the addition of Sebastian Joseph-Day and Austin Johnson up the middle on the interior defensive line looked pretty good, and the terrors on the edge in Mack and Bosa harassed Carr more than a jilted lover who's obsessed. Now, Justin Herbert also looked fantastic and made a lot of great decisions all day. He was able to find guys like Devin Carter and Gerald Everett when Keenan Allen had to go out. And he actually had the second best QBR in week 1 behind Patrick Mahomes. Now, Herbert doesn't have to be what Mahomes is to the Chiefs for the Chargers. He needs to continue to make good decisions and protect the ball. Use his legs when needed because he has all the tools to put pressure on defenses from all over the field. The Chargers' pieces are young and diverse on offense. We know Allen will be back, and Mike Williams is an absolute redwood tree on the outside. Gerald Everett's a young tight end that has a lot of upside. Shout out South Alabama. And of course, Austin Eckler's shiftier than a shapeshifter from the X school. Now, the offensive line needs to play better, but they do have the pieces to be a solid unit. The Chiefs will continue to be dominant offensively, but until they show me that their defense can consistently stop people, I think the Chargers have a slightly brighter future. New head coach Brandon Staley is young and very talented. He'll be in San Diego a pretty long time, in my opinion. And while Andy Reid is older and he may coach till he's 100, I think Staley's best days are ahead of him. Now, most will probably disagree with me here, and that's fine, because if I wanted to make everybody happy, I'd just sell ice cream for a living. We go ahead and bring in the co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. And look, it's a great situation to be in if you're the Chargers or Chiefs. It's not like the Chiefs are at the end of this run and they've got old heads at quarterback and stuff like that. You said Travis Kelce's still got a long way to go. I love the Juju Smith-Schuster ad. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's a good young back. Pacheco is a good young back. You've got more pieces on the outside. So McCole Hardman's a guy that's still young. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying the Chiefs aren't going to be good or not going to win a Super Bowl over the next 5 years. But when I look at the Chargers roster, I just feel like they're more of a complete team. Derwin James in the back end, J.C. Jackson when he gets healthy. They have a ton of pieces that in the long term you can build around offensively and defensively. And to win a Super Bowl, you have to be balanced. We talk about in college football all the time. How many teams have won a national championship that weren't good on one side of the ball or weren't good up front? Now, the Chiefs have retooled their offensive line. Let's continue to see how that goes. And we know how good they're going to be on offense. But, man, Bosa, Mack, Derwin James, you look at how young the Chargers are and where they're trending, and that we haven't won it yet. I mean, Justin Herbert hasn't even been to the playoffs yet. Yeah. You let that man get in there, the way he looked last week, as efficient as he was, even with Keenan Allen out, I'm telling you, man, I know the Chargers are my pick to win the Super Bowl, but over the next 5 years, it's neck and neck. I'll just go slightly with Los Angeles.
Well, if you had me pick 3 teams in the NFL to be bullish on the next 5 years, they would both be in there.
Yep.
So I'll say that.
And the Bills?
But in this situation, I have to, and the Bills, exactly. Those are the 3. If I had to pick one, though, next 5 years, give me the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, Andy Reid is God's gift to the NFL. He's not the hero that we deserve, but he is the hero we need.
For sure.
Right? Okay? Patrick Mahomes can just do things on a football field that just boggle my mind. I have to rewind the plays. I just don't think they're done yet. I know it was a very poor showing in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the Bucs, but that's what Tom Brady will do to you. You're not the first one, right? They have already won a Super Bowl. I don't think that combination is done. 5 years from now, Andy Reid's going to be 69. prime of his life, if you ask
That's
me.
exactly
He's
right.
going to be eating,
20 years younger than
32-ounce bone-in ribeyes, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, look, what the Chargers have done on the defensive side of the ball is very impressive. I still think the Chiefs are a good defensive team, and I'll take the Chiefs next 5 years. And they have the best backup quarterback in the NFL, the history of the NFL.
Your boy Chad Henne.
Henne.
Yeah, Blaine. Again, I think the. By the way, I think it was the last Chargers game. Tony Romo was calling it. They scored, last Chiefs game. Tony Romo was calling it after the Chiefs. I think they scored their second touchdown. They showed Andy Reid, and Tony Romo was like, "Yeah, that was a great call. Let's go get a snack." That's what he said. But Blaine, looking at Justin Herbert, a pretty good week one. We know Keenan Allen's hurt. They scored 24 points. It wasn't like that. It was some, Harlem Globetrotter style offensive performance where we're just oohing and ahhing. But I thought he made a good adjustment when Allen went out. But there's always those games, and we saw it in the playoffs, whether it was in the AFC playoffs last year with the Chiefs, where the offense isn't going to be clicking. And you need that defense and those special teams to come through for you to get you through to that next game. I just feel like the Chargers may have a couple more pieces on.
I would agree. I mean, and Justin Herbert for the last couple of years has felt like the next guy up.
Yeah.
You look at their defense, they're young. I mean, you got Bosa, you got Mack, you got Derwin James. You have big names on defense, and no one can really sit here and name me some guys on the Chiefs defense that you're super excited about. What holds the Chiefs back is defense. They got in a shootout with the Bills, and what wins you championships, right? It's defense. So
they won that game.
Yeah, I know, but did they win the championship?
No, but they won that game.
Okay, well, what wins you championships? Defense, right?
Okay, well,
I love when y'all say this. Please keep talking about defense winning championships.
No, I'm talking about last year. I mean, they
I know, but you brought up them playing the Bills and said they got in a shootout with the Bills, but they won that game.
Yeah, but they didn't win the championship, as in the Super Bowl. Right, the same thing with the Bills.
Well,
what has held back the Bills? It's been defense. What did the Bills do this year? They went and got Von Miller and got their defensive line a lot better to give themselves to what? To win a championship. The one thing the Chargers have been doing, they have the defensive side. Up front, the offensive line is not good, but the defense, you can go far with that defense. We watched the Rams game. What won the Rams a championship? Their defense. Well, basically Aaron Donald, realistically. But I still think for the next 5 years, I mean, you have one of the best D linemen in the nation. That's Joey Bosa. Khalil Mack's been injured the last couple of years, but it's still Khalil Mack. You have Derwin James, probably the best safety in the NFL, top 2 safety. And then you go to the offense, right? Justin Herbert has to play better late in the season, and in the playoffs he has to make certain throws. They're better than that Raiders team last year. They should have beat. I still think that, but he's young and he's only getting better. Austin Eckler, young. Keenan Allen, young. I mean, old, but it's still Keenan Allen.
Keenan's not that old.
But he's not young.
If Austin Eckler's young, then Keenan Allen's
Well, Keenan Allen's been in the league more than a couple of years more than Austin Eckler.
I'd have
For sure. Mike Williams, got to stay healthy. I mean, already had a back surgery. I don't think he had a target in week one, but he's going to get a lot more targets today because Keenan Allen's out. And then you go to Gerald Everett, young tight end. The offensive line has to improve. But if I had to pick a team for the next 5 years, I don't know why I wouldn't pick the Chargers just because all the pieces they've surrounded Justin Herbert with.
Yeah. Well, and two, everybody goes back to that Raiders game with the Chargers, and obviously that's the one that kept them out of the playoffs. That's when they were
38-35.
That's when everybody's talking about. But they were in they had the Chiefs beat a couple weeks before that last year. And the Chiefs were able to come back, force overtime, and win it in overtime. I think Mahomes drove the Chiefs down with like 75 seconds to go. They scored a touchdown to send it into overtime. So the Chargers like, you know what? We don't want to sit here and get in these shootouts with the Chiefs and the Raiders and stuff like this. Let's have a defense that is good enough to most of the time, if we score 31 or more points, we're going to win the game. Because again, I understand one side of the ball is probably going to be better than the other side. The fact that the chances of you being exactly even is like the chances of you being exactly even run pass on offense. It really doesn't happen. But the most complete teams give you the best chance to win games, right? It's like, who are the best people to hire, or who actually gets good jobs? People that can do the most things the best. Your versatility as a team. We always say the most dangerous teams are the one that can win in multiple ways. And we're about to get to keys to victory. But Blaine, what's the Booster Club saying?
$10 donation from Emmanuel C. What's
Emmanuel,
up, E-man?
appreciate it, buddy.
He says, hit that button, Tony. There it is. Does Russell Wilson's recent support of rookie head coach Hackett's decision on kicking a 64-yard go-ahead field goal only proved the Legion of Boom criticism of Wilson being a teacher's pet QB and not a dog competitor. Does Russell Wilson got that dog in him?
Well, when you sign for that amount of money and that organization, Russell Wilson isn't going to come out and trash the coach. I promise you that. And it wasn't like Russell played fantastic, but you pay me $200-something million, I'll come out there and say all the nice things ever. It was the right decision. It was the best decision. That doesn't mean deep down in that locker room, guys maybe aren't talking about it a little bit, and guys maybe think, you know what, next time we got to go for the throat. It's a learning experience for Coach Hackett too. Now, we always talk about, rookies and guys that get out there and that learn in the speed of the game and underneath the brightest lights. It's the same for coaches too. You got to give them a little bit of time. I didn't like the call. We talked about it yesterday. I think when you're paying Russell Wilson that much money, you go get me that first down. I'm paying you to go get me that first down. I didn't like the decision to kick the field goal especially early in the season, because I feel like it sets a tone of we're chasing instead of, you know what, we control our own destiny. When it comes down to it, we're not afraid of 4th and 5. Let's go get it. Why? Because we got Russell Wilson. Why? Because we got Cortland Sutton. Why? Because we have this young, nasty offensive line that we like. I'm paying you the money. Go get me the money.
If Brandon Mcmanus makes that kick, we're not even talking about this. It's a great decision. They won the football game late. Everybody did what they needed to do. But it's just so silly to me that an NFL quarterback actually acts with class and respects his head coach, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, he doesn't have that dog in him. I'll tell you what, he has as many Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers, and he's worth $250 million. So you know what, I would take both of those, and you can call me whatever you want.
Yeah, and again, knowing your personnel and knowing your kicker, Brandon Mcmanus has been a fantastic kicker in the NFL for a while. One of the most consistent kickers. That's why he's been in Denver, it seems like, forever. But 64 yards for anybody. I think sometimes we don't realize how good kickers in the NFL are. You look at Rodrigo Blankenship. Misses one, 45-yard field goal, and I know he struggled a little bit last year, and they waive him. Evan McPherson comes in, hits a 59-yard field goal like it's nothing in game one. Then there's 2 bad snaps on field goals, misses 2. The same guy last year that the Bengals were going to build a statue of because he hit more walk-offs than Barry Bonds, and now that they want him gone. I don't think people realize how far a 64-yard field goal is and how hard it is to be as consistently good as NFL kickers are. But Blaine,
I wonder what the percentage is. I wonder what the percentage is on him hitting that kick and the percentage on them getting a 4th and 5.
I would love to see the analytics.
I'd like to see the analytics.
I would love to see
considering
the
it's on the
analytics.
road. I can't imagine it's that big of a discrepancy.
Well, I'd have to see the analytics
because a little more.
Again, depending on your personnel and kind of what you've done, I would love to see the.
We need a breakdown, Booster Club.
Yeah, somebody.
Where's our analytics guy?
Hey, if you like that content, go ahead and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, String in a Cup. As long as you're listening, we appreciate you. Go subscribe now. It's Cranic Company.